here from the Beacon. Another news update for you. Now, if you're watching this as it comes out, then it's right around Minecon Live, so I realize some things are going to be a little like, really? Already knew that. If you hear any noise in the background, I apologize. Daisy's sleeping, so can't do nothing about that. Can't be making her hot just because I'm trying to record. So, let's jump right on in on this. On the 8th, we had the Minecon Live Discord announced, and of course there'll be a link down in the description for you. Even though it already happened, you can still chat about it and, catch up on anything you might have missed, see some great fan art, all that good whatnot. With that covered, on the 10th, we had Minecon Live 2021 introducing the new mobs. This is just where they told us about the mob vote. Coming up, they hadn't told us anything about the mobs yet, necessarily at this point, and cute little storyline was introduced between Tiny Jens and Tiny Agnes, and woo, it informed players. The ally was like a little blue fun Evax looking dude, and it collected items that were given to it. So if you give it one cookie, as they used in the video example, it would fly around and try to pick up more cookies, and then it would either bring them back to you, or if you had a note block laying around, it would put them there, because the note blocks. And I mean, there was some clarifications made before the actual vote on whether it would do so, unbump chunks and pulling items out of chests and everything like that. And of course, that was established that would not be happening. It would not go into unloaded chests or anything like that, of course. And then on the 13th, we had a lovely little tweet thread here from Pixlriff, in which he is talking about the mob vote candidates. And I'm going to quote here: "No offer counter arguments to the main arguments I've seen against each of the Minecraft Live 2021 mob vote candidates." And pretty much he just goes through to talk about each one of them: the glare, the ally, the copper golem. And I think he has some great points. I think it's good to discuss this stuff, because I think it's important people think about this in future, mob votes and such. And buying votes, any kind of votes like that, the other things in relation, think about other ways it could be used. He says for the glare, he's quoting, "I don't need the glare to look up for dark areas, I just press F3. Well, his counter arguments are, lighting up dark areas with F3 is way more time consuming. People have been making mods which display light levels for years because looking at debug info is awful. And Bedrock Edition, we don't have a way to do that. We don't have that F3 screen." So glare personally was my vote. Sadly, it did not win, but that's okay. I should have got this out there sooner so I could have influenced the, 50 some of you, 60 some of you, however many of you are all listening to this out there between YouTube and the podcast. Yeah, we would have won. We would have turned that vote. Oh yeah. But the LA doesn't duplicate items like everyone thinks it does, quote unquote. His response is: a small fraction of people have this misunderstanding. Everyone else is just excited for it. Hoppers and sorting systems already do this. The LAs could sort unstackables, possibly even enchanted books. When it comes to the golem, people say all the copper golem does is push buttons. He points out things like Rundog's TNT wood farm on Hermitcraft requires him to push buttons at different intervals. That could be automated using copper golems, and he wouldn't even have to change a design he's clearly proud of. So what he's pointing out there is, well, you may not be Rendog. This opens up the opportunities for more people to come up with their own farms, come up with their own designs, and get creative with these golems. Just because all the golem does is push buttons doesn't mean you can't find really awesome ways to have that golem push buttons. And it makes up statues, of course. And he points out that many players are approaching these mobs from a narrow technical survival view of the Minecraft gameplay. Imagine the potential for an ally in the adventure puzzle map zipping off to get you items from rooms a player can't touch. And he goes on for give an example for the glare and the copper golem and such, about how, we can use these mobs in creative and new and unique ways that aren't necessarily being thought of quite when they're being shut down so quickly. I think it's important we consider that, not everything's gonna be coming from the survival vanilla standpoint. There are other players, there are 1,000 ways to play the game, and that's one of the reasons I like the spawn chunks. I think Pixlriff does a great job about always coming back and going, Joel too. They both do a great job of going, don't look at it straight from this angle. Just because this is where we're coming from doesn't mean it's the only approach. And then moving right along, we had some patch notes, the dungeon update on the 13th, including a notice of the Spookier fall event. So this is just our first heads up. It's already started if you listen to this at the time of release, or later. As long as it's not past November 2nd, it's still ongoing. A big note about, a bunch of different level achievements and cape designs and tweaks and fixes, but the big thing here is they're just still working on dungeons, Spookier fall event, and multiple patch notes for that. And then we had a little video released for the Golem. This would have been released on the... Also on the 13th, we have the Copper Golem released. The Copper Golem was announced to be able to push little buttons and would actually wax and turn to a statue. Or, sorry, not wax, would oxidize with time and turn into a statue. You ran around and hit random copper buttons, which would also be introduced to the game had Copper Golem been voted in. And this is where Tiny Jens and Agnes met up and then were able to escape things to the little Copper Golem. Very sweet little videos. But yeah, it's a wonderful little thing, and it would have been something that we would have put together ourselves. And of course, I like to point out that, there's no reason, even though we know what the vote was, and you'll hear more about that in the next one. I want to point out real quick that even if something doesn't make it in the initial vote, it's not number one, it doesn't mean that it can't ever come back. So don't ever give up hope on your dreams for such things. And then a final heads up here from the dungeons: be afraid, be very afraid, be even more afraid. Spookier fall is here now. So from the time of you listening to this and a few days before until November 2nd, 2021, you have time to take part in the spookiest seasonal event and score time-limited awards that include weapons, armor, and even a new zombified friend to call your own. So make sure you hop into Dungeons, give that a go, and remember, I believe it's already been out now for Steam in both games. I also listened to the Weathering Effect Dungeons. The Withering Effect talked to Laura from the team of Dungeons, creative lead. You also would have seen her at Minecraft Live for a wonderful in-depth discussion all about Minecraft Dungeons. And then wrapping things up here, on the 14th, we had a Minecraft beta 1.18.0.21. Remember, this is a beta. This means that not everything is in the game already. It is under the beta program and similar to Java's equivalent of snapshots. We got a nice little view here of a cave looking real luscious. Looks like it's like aquafire and a lush cave. So you got those beautiful vines coming down. And if you want to see this picture that I'm describing right now, you just go ahead and click that beta link in the show notes and it'll take you right over here. You can see it. Otherwise, they're just talking about some features and bug fixes, such as updated ore distribution to make regarding game test framework. As soon as this goes out, I will already be working on my videos for Dungeons.
I mean live.
I'm going to do a quick hey, here are the big bullet points. Here's what you need to know. Bam. And then I'm going to do a longer one where I'm going to actually watch live through again, comment, discuss, and then I will chop out anything where it's just like, we're not talking about anything here. So it'll be a quick bullet point and then a longer extended. I've been High Hopes. This has been your October week 2 news for everything Minecraft. This has been The Beacon, your guiding light to everything Minecraft.